What? I need to hear what you say. I know this was such a psychotic thing. The person that the EU foreign policy chief saying that China and Russia had no victories in World War II is so psychotic. It's not only obviously ahistorical, but like to say that is just like what the fuck? Like how anti-communist can you get at that point, you know? How anti-communist can you get that you just like envision an alternative reality? What is this? What the hell is going on? She's about to be like, it's actually Germany that defeated the Nazis, which was in Russia. They were in Russia. That's how World War II happened. When the USSR did the Holocaust and then the Germans actually fought them famously. It's ironic because the USSR and China are the two countries on the right side of history that suffered the highest number of casualties. What the fuck? Here, this is the statement. Why is this? God damn it. Dude, it's, oh my God. Oh my God. Does anyone have another? Chen Weihua, who just recently, after 38 years of working for China Daily, retired, says she's a stupid scumbag. Yeah, it's not, the video's not working because it's so busted. Very brave of her to say no one studies or remembers history anymore in the midst of confidently stating probably the most wrong thing anyone's ever said about the 20th century history. Like, even when we talk about like China, Chinese involvement, like if you are even remotely aware of World War II history, and as a person who is like a foreign policy chief for the EU, you should fucking know at least basic shit about World War II. But let's say you just like don't really fully know anything because like they don't teach it in schools that well or at all, like China's involvement. But to say that fucking Russia didn't do anything and was not involved or didn't like play a formative role in bringing about the decisive victory for the Allied forces is so insane. Reddit link if that works better. Radioactivity of drinking water in Estonia is among the highest in Europe. Yeah, she said, here, this is it. Kaja Kallas, the EU foreign policy head, doesn't even seem to be aware that Russia and China were among the winners of World War II. Immensely ironically, she dismisses it as something new and propaganda for people who don't read or remember history that much. Not sure how she explains how Russia and China got their permanent seat at the UN Security Council. Woke. That's how it was woke.
You know, that Russia was addressing China like you and like Russia and China, we fought the Second World War. We won the Second World War. We won the Nazism. And I was like, okay, that is something new. But then you can see, first you can, if you know history, then, it raises a lot of question marks in your head. But, I can tell you.
What are they teaching? Like, what the fuck? What could you have possibly learned? Like, let's say you don't know about China, okay? Even though it's fucking idiotic. But what could you have possibly learned in school that eliminated the most consequential country for World War II? Like, how? How do you just say like, oh, what do you mean Russia defeated, were the winner of World War II? Like, what the fuck?
Nowadays, people don't really read and remember history that much, which is that, you can see that they buy these narratives.
Extreme anti-communism in Estonia only covers the USSR reuniting the Baltics with it. Yeah, apparently China, I saw this video as well. China got so mad. A Chinese official called her a fucking idiot. It takes a lot for China to officially call a senior foreign leader an idiot, but that's what they essentially did with the EU's Kaja Kallas after she ridiculously claimed that China and Russia weren't among the winners of World War II. The statement made by relevant EU officials is full of ideological bias and lacks basic historical common sense and blatantly stokes rivalry and confrontation. This is disrespectful to the history of World War II and undermines the EU's own interest. It's preposterous and irresponsible.
欧盟有关官员的言论充满了意识形态偏见，缺乏基本历史常识，公然鼓噪对立对抗。 既是对二战历史的不尊重，也损害欧方自身利益，十分错误，极不负责。中方对此坚决反对。
Yeah, I don't understand because if she's Estonian, like, doesn't that mean her like grandparents probably also fought the Nazis? Am I misunderstanding? Like, what? So like, what the fuck? They are right about Russia though? What are you talking about? No, they're not. What the fuck? Maybe they were collaborators or something. I don't know. Maybe her grandparents were collaborators. Because like every country and on that side of the world has its history of like, going to the other major power and aligning with them, or at least having like collaborators. But regardless, none of this matters because ultimately, if you're looking at like an accurate assessment of historical events, something as formative and as important as World War II, to deny the involvement of the USSR, which bled like 20 million people, and then China another 20, that's crazy, man. That's like, these are on the Allied side. These countries took the most significant penalties, man. The USSR, 26 million, sorry. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like far more than America. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? This isn't to discount like America's involvement. I'm not even saying that. But to say that the two countries on the Allied side that lost more people than any of the fucking Western Front countries is crazy. It's crazy. The fuck? These people bled. These people fucking bled. Russia did a fuck ton, but China, how much did China really do? Best is keeping Japan at bay. Dude, they had their own Chinese-Japanese version of the Holocaust. What the fuck do you mean? What did China do? Oh my God, please open up a history book, chatters. What the fuck is happening? That's crazy. Imperial Japan was doing the Japanese version of the Holocaust to mainland China, to the Chinese population. I don't deny that, but to compare Russia and China in World War II is just crazy. No, it's not. What the fuck? If I were to turn around and say America did nothing during World War II, they just coasted to a fucking comfortable victory, you probably would have you probably would be mad at me for saying that. Most people would. They'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? The notion that like China just didn't do anything is crazy. I guess a part of that is because Japan just did the ultimate move, which was to deny their historic atrocities, you know? So people are just like oblivious. Yeah, look at the civilian deaths and military deaths for World War II. Like I said, China and the Soviet Union bled the most. China and the Soviet Union bled the most to secure a fucking victory for the Allied forces in World War II. Not even a question. It's gross. It's insane to just deny them their history. Isn't that the Chinese military flag? Well, the flag at the time during World War II was the nationalist force. So the communist Chinese, the communists were also fighting under the same banner, the nationalist flag. I am beginning to realize that a lot of people just don't know about Chinese history at all. I assume that you just didn't learn anything about it. So you're just kind of confused about everything that's going on. Like, do people not teach? Do people not educate, like, do they not talk about like Chinese involvement in World War II at all? Is that like not even is that not just brought up? How do they teach people World War II in like the other side, you know? Is it just like Americans came in and they bombed Japan and it was awesome and then we nuked them and then they were like, please sir, no more. We will create anime. Is that how they teach it? It's like Nazi Germany was big bad. They were doing the Holocaust, which, by the way, fucking people didn't even know about it. That's not the reason why World War II happened. But I assume like the way that Americans learn about it is like Nazi Germany was doing the Holocaust and Americans wanted to protect Jewish people, and they knew that the Holocaust was happening. So, you know, Japan also was helping the Nazis. So then they did a sneak attack in America, and then America was like, fuck you. And then they were like, you know what? We're going to save the Jews from the concentration camps. And then they invaded. They did D-Day, and then that's it. You know, they brought in, they secured a dub on every front, basically. They secured a dub. They did Pearl Harbor, Japanese sneak attack. That pissed America off, and they were like, fuck you. Don't you dare piss off America. Hell yeah. And then they did D-Day, and then they also went to Japan, and they bombed it, and then they nuked it because the Japanese were, refusing to concede, and then... refusing to concede, and that's why they had to be nuked, and then anime. Is that how they teach it? Am I missing something? Literally, yes, no Asian resistance against Japan is mentioned, and EU allies are just a footnote for US exploits. Brother, China nor Russia never came up in high school. It was entirely Anglo-centric. What the fuck? Ain't no way they don't teach you about the USSR. Wait, what? No. How is that different from what actually happened? Saying that while we're looking at like military deaths and civilian deaths of the all allied forces is so funny. Like, it's right in front of you how different it actually was. Like, look at the screen. What do you mean, man? Look at the screen in front of you. Fuck you mean? How is that different than what actually happened? So what happened to these guys then? I was taught some about the USSR, but it was largely focused on how Stalin is evil. What the fuck? Dude, this has actually been an eye-opening experience for me. I'm beginning to realize that, like, okay, I can't tell if you guys were just not paying attention in school and you're just like memeing, or if this is sincerely not taught. Like, this profoundly important, world-changing sequence of events that took place that literally brought about the new world order that we exist under is not properly taught in schools. Like, I'm Turkish and they teach us this shit because, you know, Turkey was like, we'll see ourselves out of this. You know, we already took one L with aligning with Germany one time. Okay, World War I, not a good bargain. We're not invested in this. We're going to see ourselves out of it. Sorry. That's a you thing. We're not doing it. And like, that's the Turkish involvement. So because of that reason, I think like they just actually do teach what happened in World War II as far as like all of the different parties involved. And it's not just America came in and fucking killed everybody. And it was awesome. High fives all around. Nobody else did nothing. This is a one-on-one of how Americans are taught.
My teacher? Yes, little Hitler? My desk is small. I need this Polish boy's desk also.
Everyone gets the same size desk, little Hitler.
Little Hitler, such a scam!
Now, class.
My teacher? I will need the Czechoslovakian boy's desk as well.
Little Hitler, where's little Pulaski?
Little Hitler, always having fun!
What's going on here?
It's not my problem. Now, it's my problem.
Little Hitler!
I mean, this is just a summary of how I was jokingly saying this is how it was taught in school. The education I received about World War II ended up leading me into learning a lot about World War II as an adult because I started to watch some documentaries that show how wrong we were taught about it. I feel like it'd be kind of funny to just like go through like a history textbook in like a regular American high school. What the fuck do people do? American, first of all, here's a common misconception that I have had to clarify in this last in these last 2 years especially. I think because of the post-World War II movies that came out, and many of them were like Holocaust concentration camp centric for obvious reasons, because it was a historic atrocity, that a lot of people think that America fought the Nazis because of the Holocaust. Like, which was shocking to me. Like, people unironically think Americans fought the Nazis because the Holocaust was happening. And that is just not true. That's not. So when you watch Band of Brothers, for example, why do you think they're confused when they see the concentration camps? Shouldn't they have known if they knew ahead of time? Why is that a big moment of revelation in the TV series? Here, I'll use, Gunburger analogies in television because that's what Americans learn shit from, apparently. Hi, current high school teacher here. U.S. history, we have to teach us hyper-focused on American exceptionalism. We have strict standards that make America look its best. We have to teach the test for it. It's all fucked. I do my best to interject more. With the rules, it's tough. Like, I think people I've met a lot of Americans that legitimately think that everybody knew the Holocaust was happening and America was like, this is unconscionable. We have to stop it. And then they came in and they did D-Day and the Nazis were like, no. Like, they don't know that, like, the Russians were the ones who liberated the camps for the most part.
You have been liberated by the Soviet army.
Like, they think America was the one who, and then Hitler was just like rolling through all of the Eastern territory and only took an L because they like tried to invade Russia in the winter. That's the only reason. Like, there was no battles. It was just a slaughter. They were blitzkrieging through all of its eastern flank. And everyone was like, they were like, no, yet. I wish the Amerikanisch would be here. My Tovarish, they could save us. And then the Nazis were just like, haha, we are killing you because Americans are not involved in this. And then they're like, oh mein Gott, ich kann nicht glauben, they found out about the Holocaust. Now they're attacking us. No, nein. And then Hitler killed himself. It's not quite that bad. They give the USSR some credit. They don't even mention anything about Italy or Spain. They just tell you Mussolini was a bad guy in Italy. What the fuck, dude? That's crazy, man. What is this? Oh, you found the chapter. World War II. There's a textbook. This is the middle school history book I used when they taught about World War II, and there was no mention of China in World War II other than one time. The United States joined with the European nations and nationalist China in a combined effort to defeat Japan. Oh my God. It literally is. Look. Britain and France declare war on Germany. Spanish Civil War ends. France falls to Germany. Japanese attack Pearl Harbor. Nazi death camps in full operation. Allies under Eisenhower launch D-Day invasion. Germany and Japan surrender. United States drops atomic bombs on Japan. That's crazy. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. Like, we make fun of like Aiden Ross and shit for not knowing how to say fascist, but I mean, if this is what you're learning, are you really learning at all? Hitler and the Soviets. The Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact. Wait, do they have appeasement in here? They do, right? Yeah, demands an appeasement. So they have appeasement. Fair. For years, Great Britain and France have been attempting to make an alliance with the Soviet Union against Nazi. Yet in August 1939, Hitler shocked the Western powers by making his own agreement with Stalin. The Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact. Wait, that's upside down. That's crazy. Okay. The Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact was one of the last steps leading to World War II. By secretly agreeing to split Eastern Europe with the Soviets, Hitler knew that he would not have to fight with the Soviets when the war began. He invaded Poland about a week after signing the non-aggression pact. Despite this pact, Hitler did not intend to keep his promises to Stalin. The Nazi-Soviet alliance would last only until 1941, when Hitler invaded the Soviet Union. This is why French commies saw you as a golden rarity, a 24-karat gold Labubu. Another one, 50 best World War II American Army movies. As a Brit, they kind of cover the USSR involvement with push to Stalingrad and the Eastern Front, but China is never really mentioned here either. But also Pacific Theater isn't really mentioned outside of Pearl Harbor. Then it's like Pacific Theater, New Asian Order. What were the causes of World War II? I mean, they don't actually say that like the Americans knew of the concentration camps and that's why they invaded here, though. At least it doesn't seem like it. I think that's like a movie thing. I think post World War II movies is the reason why a lot of people are just like totally brain broken about like what happened in World War II, because they hyper focused on American intervention, and Hollywood did a great job with that. It's like peak of the Cold War. They're making movies that either erase Russian involvement or I mean, yeah, just really greatly overemphasize American involvement, or talk about the Nazi atrocities specifically during the Holocaust against Jews, which is the other thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like, most people in America, I don't think realize that like Nazis didn't just kill 6 million Jews. The Nazis also put the Roma population in concentration camps. They put socialists in concentration camps. They put trade unions in concentration camps. They put communists in concentration camps. It wasn't just Jewish people either. And I think because of like the way that movies were, it was disabled people, exactly, Slavs. So I think like given the faucet of movies that came out, and this isn't to say that these were like movies that shouldn't have been made. I think that America's accomplishments in World War II are quite significant, and these are great movies in general. But I think that, I don't know if this was a primary purpose or if it was just how things panned out, but this is the reason why that famous French study exists from 1945 all the way to 2005, where they polled the French population in 1945, like who played the most impactful role in winning World War II, and the majority said the USSR. And in 2005, when they polled the French population again, they said America by like an insanely wide margin. So I think like there's an entire field of study dedicated to this, where people just have developed the wrong opinions. Like, look, yeah, see, 57% French poll on which nation contributed the most in defeating Germany in World War II. Example of how history can easily be written by the victor. In 1945, they understandably said the USSR, 57%. By 2004, they thought 58% of French people thought it was the United States, overwhelmingly, that contributed the most in defeating Germany in World War II. It's called World War II historiography. They also skipped the American, Japanese internment camps. Yeah, just a little blip. The director of Enemy at the Gates made a movie about an SS officer's diary from Tibet and how the Dalai Lama was cool and Mao was bad. taking the credit, barely did any work. I mean, it's not true to say that the Americans did any work. It's just that it was far more consequential for the USSR than it was for the United States. But to say that they didn't do any work is also wrong. They did a lot of work. Great work, mind you. Okay. But the French reflection of who contributed the most in May 1945 is correct. All the comments are how it's because the French just hated the U.S. back then and not because of historical revisionism. America's biggest contribution was incredibly vast manufacturing output. Sure, that was a huge contribution. Absolutely. I present to you the worst thing I've ever seen. DHS.gov. Homie is afraid of the entire Western Hemisphere. Yo, we suck so bad. We are the fucking Nazis. God damn, dude. This country is... What a shameful experience. Of course, no one here has the capacity to feel shame. But goddamn, dude, if we did, holy fuck, we should be feeling it. I certainly do. The money was old phrase. World War II was won with American money, British intelligence, and Russian men. I thought it was American steel. On World War II anniversary, China seeks to wait. What? On World War II anniversary, China seeks to erase U.S. role in victory. I don't think they are doing that, but it would be pretty funny if they were to do like what America's doing back to America now. You know what I mean? Seemingly after years and years of the United States of America just like erasing through its history books, through its movies, the involvement of both the USSR and China as well. We were taught in Canadian history class in high school that Stalin and Mao forced their parliaments to clap for them for hours, and the first person to stop clapping got publicly executed. Much of what is taught about the USSR and communist China was either North Korea style rumor mill bullshit or lies by omission. What? As a Canadian, that is not true. I'm telling the truth. Taught that too in Alberta. Dude, what the fuck? The history textbook chapters on 2016, 2028 are going to be so cooked. I mean, they're just going to be like, I assume if the fascists continue winning, they will most likely reflect very positively on this era. They're going to say the Chinese bioweapon came and tried to take out our big, beautiful president. He fought back. The dear leader fought back bravely with valiant effort and activated some of the best patriots who we will cover extensively in the Ashley Babbitt chapter of our textbook. The hero of Ashley, the heroism of Ashley Babbitt will be reflected on in a chapter on its own. But before we get to the January 6 heroes, of course, or in the aftermath of the January 6 heroes, the deep state communist pedophilia, well, I guess at that point they'll legalize pedophilia, so they won't use that as a negative term to associate the Democrats with. They'll say the deep state communist vampires, also known as the demon rats, fraudulently stole the election in spite of the valiant effort of the heroic January 6 revolutionaries. And then after 4 years of death and destruction, Donald Trump was able to, the dear leader was able to win once again and bring about the great American prosperity that you can experience. This is the part of the history book where we want you to take a deep breath, because you can't really breathe poison any longer, but and look outside at the glorious bounties that he has brought. Do not pay any attention to the radioactive material that you see, nor the mushroom clouds that are developing outside of your window. Those are mushroom clouds of peace and prosperity. It's awesome. The Great American Israel Alliance was actually secretly conducted by dear leader Donald Trump, and the secret communist demon rat Joe Biden actually tried to stop Israel from enacting its brave conquest against the parasitic force of the Palestinians. That's like another chapter in there. And they'll, I guess, talk about like, you know, how brave the Israeli military is. This is the part of the chapter where you have to say 10 Am Israel Chais. If you don't say that, you will get executed by your teacher, who has a machine gun as a self-defense mechanism that was implemented in the second Trump turn to combat the school shootings that are taking place 3 times a day now. I don't think people will know how to read by then. Truly. Yeah. Also, it'll be AI anyway. It's not. It's going to be PragerU, corporate sponsorship, machine gun turrets in every classroom. The teacher is AI. The machine gun turret is also AI. And also PragerU is AI as well. Everything is AI. Fox News YouTube channel is part of my high school history class curriculum. Stop. Ay, ay, ay. Everything's computer. Everything's transgender. Oh. Yeah. Great stuff. Fantastic.